I don't understand how anyone could get bored in an aviation museum. The allure is plain to see. My wife and I have decided never to talk again about my addiction to aviation puns. It's a sore subject. My dad sees an abandoned building outside Cleveland labeled Aviation High School. Looks like the Aviation High School didn't really take off. I love aviation jokes, but they always seem to go over people's heads. Sure, geology rocks, but aviation is really fly. I can't believe I'm almost finished with aviation school. This last semester has really flown by. Today I learned that I got the job as Eric Estrada's personal aviator. I guess you could say that it makes me Pontius Pilate. Did you hear about the airplane accident? Apparently, the pilot only took a crash course in aviation. I recently bought an aviation-themed couch. Unfortunately, I had to send it back because it was Boeing 747 in the middle. It's not well known, but the Vatican has a military aviation wing. They are the air fryers. I'm making a new documentary series on how to fly an airplane. We're currently filming the pilot. Last night, my wife texted me to tell me she landed. I told her I thought that was the pilot's job. My dad gets high all the time. He's a pilot. A flight instructor and a rookie pilot are flying in a small plane. The flight instructor asks the rookie, "Have you ever flown solo?" The rookie responds, "No, usually I fly higher than this." I went out for a Chinese meal last night and chatted with the old waiter. He told me he lived in Japan during the war and had been a kamikaze pilot. His code name? Chow mein. I said, "Wait, didn't kamikaze pilots sacrifice their lives?" He smiled and said, "Yes, but I was chicken chow mein." What kind of bagel do pilots like? Plain. Why don't airline pilots get speeding tickets? Because they are above the law. I met a pilot once who said he actually wanted to be a sailor. He was in the wrong craft. Why is the first episode of a TV series called The Pilot? Because it's the first time it's on the air. Why are pilots so hard to find? Because they're always in disguise. A guy in work asked why my son had given up his flying lessons. I told him pilot jobs aren't really taking off at the moment. Our pilot asked me how I liked the last part of our flight. I said it was descent. Why do airline pilots never work a day of their life? As soon as they arrive at work, they just take off. What did the pilot order at the restaurant? Just a plain burger. Yesterday I saw a police officer wearing a pilot's uniform. I thought it was a bit odd. Then I realized he was one of those plainclothes cops. I'm giving a speech tomorrow to a bunch of pilots. I hope it lands well. I saw a sign today that said hiring airport drivers, which I think is a weird way to say pilot. What do you call an aircraft piloted by an all-female crew? An unmanned aircraft. I once knew a guy who was a pilot, but he wasn't very bright. All of his friends called him plain stupid. One day an airplane pilot decided he wanted to be a baseball star, so he went to talk to a coach. The coach asks him, "Can you pitch?" The pilot replies, "Yeah." How do fighter pilots like their eggs? Scrambled. Why did the sitcom about airplanes never take off? It had a bad pilot. What do you call a pilot's underwear? A cockpit. Planes usually have a place for people to leave their pets, however they have a separate room for farmers who bring roosters. The cockpit. Pilots are so unprofessional. Every time they're in the cockpit, they're just winging it. Did you hear about the guy who jumped in a cockpit? He was covered in feathers after. I'm starting a flight company exclusively for bald people. I'll call it Receding Airlines. Just got off a long flight home from Chernobyl, and boy are my arms legs. The longest drum solo in history was 6 hours 28 minutes, performed by a child sitting behind me on the flight to Toronto. All the flights from John Lennon Airport have been canceled. Imagine all the people. Guy tries to board a plane with a dead raccoon. The flight attendant says, "Sir, you're going to have to check that." "Don't worry," he replies, "it's carrion." I failed my history exam because I said that Reagan and McDonald were first in flight. Apparently 2 wrongs don't make a right. On a recent flight, my friend asked me, "If the door suddenly opens, you think we will fall out?" I said, "No, we will still be friends." More groans coming up right after this swift interlude. I was on a flight the other day when the air hostess came up to me and asked, "Excuse me, sir, would you like to have dinner?" I answered, "Sure. What are the options?" She smiled and responded, "Yes and no." Flight attendant was a wise guy over the intercom. This is what he said. "Sorry about the rough landing. It wasn't the captain's fault. It certainly wasn't my fault. It was the asphalt." When the staff won't let me on the airplane, my instinct is to become violent. Please don't judge me for it. We all have a fight or flight response. I requested the flight attendant to switch my seat as I was next to a screaming baby. Apparently you are not allowed to do that if the baby is yours. A man called an airline to reserve a flight for his vacation. On the phone, the airline employee asked him, "How many passengers are flying with you?" The man replied, "How should I know? It's your plane." What were the dentist's last words aboard a crashing flight? Brace yourselves. How do airlines make sure everyone is on board? They take flight attendants. I once sat next to a baby on a 10-hour flight. I had no idea that it was possible for someone to cry for 10 hours straight. Even the baby was impressed. What do you call turbulence while riding a goose? Goosebumps. What football team always deals with turbulence? The New York Jets. I hate to bring up politics, but Trump accepting that jet as a gift is just plain wrong. Apple filled 20 jumbo jets with iPhones and flew them into the US to avoid tariffs. Imagine how long it took to put them all in airplane mode. I was discharged from the police academy for refusing to wear anything except Delta hats, Boeing ties, and JetBlue shirts. I just wanted to be a plainclothes cop. The King of Spain has been quarantined on his private jet. The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plane. I work in the oil industry, and I gotta tell you, that jet fuel is some good stuff. Even planes get high on it. Why is food on a private jet boring? It is a little plain. Why did the crows fly into the jet engine on purpose? It was a murder-suicide. Where do you go fishing to catch a plane? A jet stream. What do you call a dentist flying a jet? Top Gum. What does a fighter jet pilot do if he sneezes in flight? Eliminate the bogey. A particular fighter jet in the 1950s was so poor that Air Force pilots would leave the service and become glaziers. As a result, the plane was dubbed the Window Maker. The son of a wealthy businessman has his own private jet. It's called the airplane. Geese and swans mate for life. Might explain why geese and swans fly into jet engines. Why did the flight simulator game always freeze? It had jet lag. What did the propeller say to the movie star? It's nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan. I paint pictures of famous airplane propellers. I'm proud of my fan art. What type of aircraft is into propellers and jet engines? A biplane. Those propeller hats. Did they ever take off? I once wished a woman a happy Amelia Earhart Day. She told me to get lost. Red Baron originally planned to incorporate an Amelia Earhart line of pizzas into their brand, but didn't because they felt no one would be able to find them. There were two brothers that almost designed a working airplane before the Wright brothers. Guess they were the wrong brothers. I would love to hang out with the Wright brothers. They seem like they would be great wingmen. A TV network offered the Wright brothers a huge deal to make a documentary on their life achievements. But unfortunately, they ended up only filming the pilot. How did the Wright brothers come up with the first airplane? They didn't just pull it out of thin air. What did they call the Wright brothers after they flew away? The Left brothers. When the Wright brothers were arrested for trespassing at Kitty Hawk, the judge refused to grant them bail. He considered them a flight risk. Upon seeing the Wright brothers fly their aircraft higher and higher, the newspaper reporter stated, "Isn't that a sight for sore eyes?" One of the Wright brothers was born in Indiana. If anyone says the Wright brothers are from Ohio, they're only half right. More than a century ago, two brothers decided it was possible to fly. More than a century ago, two brothers decided it was possible to fly. And as you can see, they were right. After the Wright brothers' first flight came to a graceful landing, Wilbur said to Orville, "It can only go up from here." Did you know that the Wright brothers built their airplane in Dayton, Ohio, and then took it to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina? Of course, it took a lot longer to get there back then, because they couldn't fly there. What would the Wright brothers be called if they invented airplanes in China? The Wong brothers. Did you hear a decadent of the Wright brothers is getting married and Billy Idol is officiating the ceremony? He agreed to officiate after they told him the date. He said it was a good day for a Wright wedding. Why did Charles Lindbergh almost crash into the Atlantic? Because he flew so low. I'm Montgomery Jones. We're on a mission to spread the laughs and groans far and wide, so please do us a favor and share just one of these jokes with your family and friends today. Thanks. Looking for more dad joke humor to share? Then subscribe to our new weekly email newsletter. It's our weekly roundup of the best dad jokes, memes, and humor for you to enjoy. Spread the laughs and groans and sign up today. Check the sign up link in the show notes page or visit dailydadjokespodcast.com. The Daily Dad Jokes Podcast is produced by Classic Studios. See the show notes page for social media links and joke credits. This show was recorded in front of a canned studio audience.